Hello, and thanks for joining us on this month's Mark IV Battle Report on Tried and True. If you enjoy our content, please consider subscribing to the channel and keep up to date on our BatRep and podcast releases. If you would like to support the channel directly, a link to our Patreon can be found in the video description below. Our match today was recorded using the Black Tide 3 Part 1 scenario, Hammer Strike. On a mission to retake conquered Signarian territory is returning Signar player Rick. Welcome back. He has brought a 100-point list of Storm Legion led by Captain Midas and Calder. Rick, please tell us what you brought today.
Alright, hi guys, thanks for having me back. So today I am playing Captain Midas and Calder. She is being accompanied by 4 coursers. All of them have the same left arm and right arm in the heavy storm thrower and the voltaic punching spike. I have 2 of them with the advanced deploy head, 1 with an arc node head, and 1 with the shield guard head. They are also coming along with 3 strikers, 2 of which are relentless charge head, voltaic halberds, and heavy mag bolter. The final striker is a relentless charge head with a voltaic hammer and the galvanic shield. Pretty heavy battle group for Calder here. We're also coming up with 2 Legionnaire Officer solos, 2 Arcane Mechanic units, and a new for me, Tempest Assailer units. We got 2 of those guys as well. Pretty heavy armor and nice slam attacks. For my rack, I went and took Arcane Shield, Electrify, and Jackhammer for my spells for Calder, and then her command cards were Careful Reconnaissance, Hit and Run, Infiltration, Power Swell, and Savagery.
Taking a defensive position in the conquered village is the occupying army Thornfall Alliance led by the Bone Grinder Warlock Midas. Piloting this piggy party is none other than our Minions-loving community member, Gatorman Pete. Good to have you back. Could you please talk to us about your list and strategy going into the game?
Hi guys, thanks for having me back again. Today I'm playing who I think is my favorite of the current menu of Pharaoh Warlocks, Midas. Midas gets a little flack for not being Arcadius or Carver, but I think he's really good. I like to start him with a nice, strong front line of beasts. So we got 3 gunbores, a splatterbore for that Animus, and a heavy warhog. I've got a couple Tinkers. Remember, Tinkers can repair the heavies in Pharaoh because they've got all those robot parts. I'm test driving Magnus the Unstoppable and his buddy Invictus, seeing how they do in a Pharaoh army. And then I've got 2 sets of Brigands, both with their Warlord for that tasty prey, and 2 sets of Valkyries. My command cards are Arcane Forces for those long-range calamities, since we don't have arc nodes in the Pharaoh army. I've got Breakthrough, Careful Reconnaissance, Infiltration, and Power Swell for that Hex Blast Calamity combo.
Can Calder send Midas and his army of hogs squealing into the night? Let's get to the table and roll off.
Hi Pete.
Hello. We meet again on the field of battle.
My arch nemesis.
Yeah.
We are here. Alright, so get your prey tokens out there. Start talking about terrain here. We got
This was a really cool scenario. I had so much fun.
I really enjoyed it.
So this bottom right here, that's the alchemist shop. If you're within 5 inches of that, you get +2 range on all your ranged attacks. The top right there is the granary. If you control it at the start of your turn, you can heal. Likewise for the top left, that's the repair shop for constructs. And then the bottom left is the park. If you're in it, no spells on you.
Spell word is nice.
Yeah.
So, and then last thing is on the far right, the guard towers. They're not guard towers. It's just a random scenario bit.
That's the tent. That's where I score for free.
Yes.
If I remember.
Yes. So I go ahead and start my first turn. I have my advanced deploy coursers. Go ahead and just kind of run up the field. I'm kind of hoping for Rhythm of War to kind of get me a little bit farther up the field this turn while kind of get running. Since I'm going to be scoring second, I want to try to make sure that I'm up the board quite a bit in the sense of presence, because I can't just let you just sit back and keep scoring stuff, especially since you technically have a third scenario element on your side of the board that I do not have. So everybody runs up the board. Heavies are getting their accumulator from being near Storm Legion, so they have that additional focus on them, the approach. Right there, Calder went and got deflection up for the turn, and making sure that I have that sweet extra 2 defense against shooting as it's coming across to me. Couples really well with her feet later on. Rhythm of War is up, so at the end of my entire turn and all of my activations, I go ahead and add in that additional 3 inches to my battle group, not including her. So Solo runs over here, kind of gets ready for contesting other elements. I make sure to get Desperate Pace up on my Assailers, which makes them run pretty far, so they're only speed 5. They run for the additional 5, and Desperate Pace makes it +2, so the initial model goes 12 inches forward. So they're actually pretty fast for being heavy infantry as they are. And then we just get our mechanics in place because they're going to do mechanic things on following turns. Here we go, Rhythm of War. I get to move very far forward.
Also a great Sanderson book.
Everyone's in place. Spell Ward is up on multiple models. I'm hiding that other light, and pass it to you.
Alright, Midas's turn. So immediately I see 2 lights that I think I can get both sets of brigands on. On that bottom side, I do have access to that alchemist shop. And brigands going from range 10 to range 12 is going to be very good for me. Unfortunately, the light that I can reach down there that I really want to take out is behind that wall. I think it's sitting at defense 17 or something crazy like
starts
that.
at 13, goes to 17 because of deflection. That it's 19.
So yeah, it's sitting at 19. So really, I'd want to get a calamity on that using Midas, because he can curse it for the extra +2 and be an arcane 9 against it with a boost. Like, he'll probably hit that, but they're in the park, so I can't do that. So I start up top here. I place one of my brigands and get everybody around so they can see right over the edge of that, the top of that cloud there. Now they do have combined range attack, and the leader there has 2 guns and a slightly higher rat. So I pair a couple with her, a couple with each other, and they have a special ability from the attachment where they get to re-roll combined range attacks if they miss. So I start pumping attacks into it, even with the relatively high 15 defense. With 2 tries, most of them are able to hit, and I start chunking it out. Unfortunately, it is not quite enough, and he controls the repair shop, so it's gonna come back to haunt me. But for now, I'm happy I put some damage in, even if it costs me some of my ham soldiers up there. So with the top mostly done, I come down to take a look at the bottom side, figure out how I'm gonna pump some shots into this. I do have a couple other options down here. I've got some gun borers, I've got Magnus, I've got Invictus, but I think he's a little too far for my gun borers. I'd like to sneak that one around the left there, around the bottom, but that's even with the +2 range, that's not really going to happen for me this turn. So we settle on getting some boars out there. But I do want to throw out a couple buffs at the beginning of my turn. I've got Bond of Gristle and Bone, a little +2 armor buff that I want to put on Magnus there to keep him a little safer. And I make a shot with my gun bore there. It misses, but I do some auto blast damage. Roll those triple ones, only rocking a 13 even on that POW 10 blast.
I enjoyed it.
I had a very swingy game. Slight spoilers. There was some good, there was some bad. So recovering morally from my gunboard's failure there takes a little bit as I start shuffling my fury around. It's right about this point that I realized that I misdeployed. Yep. we put one brigand extra in one squad and lightened the other. So we correct the mistake and take some damage off of the light up top there. And then I move these brigands up. Try and pull the same thing. You're at defense 19.
Yes.
So I am with the prey, because I do have that prey bonus there. With the prey and the combined ranged attack, I end up swinging at rat 10 here. So I need 9s, and I just happen to do it every time. So,
casually.
Yeah, just casually. Sweet 9 there.
It's fine.
Do some damage. And then I got one more combined. I do a 3-man, and oh, look at that, another 9. Didn't even need those rerolls. So they do
balanced out those ones.
They do a good bit of damage. Again, it is not quite enough. If that gun bore hadn't flubbed the first POW 10, probably would have taken him out. But that's not how the turn shook down. So now we measure those threat ranges, see what's gonna kill my pigs next turn, and where I want to place all the rest of my homies. So we start setting our sights on some of these other guys. I put out that Bond of Bristle and Bone on. Oh no, I'm going with Magnus here. Magnus is putting Hellrot on Invictus. Get that free armor buff he's got. Moves up so that he got that range 16 on his rocket. 14 plus the +2 from the Alchemist. Takes a shot, chips a little damage, but it doesn't break that light's armor. Can't quite finish it off. Invictus comes up, and Invictus gives it a go. There's his. Doesn't hit. Rolls that blast 8. And not quite enough. I think I do 1 damage, take his movement out. Still got 2 in that cortex. And you've got 6 mechanics and a repair shop.
Absolutely, I do.
Alright, so now we're looking at Midas. You throw a Death March out on those that brigand unit on the bottom. Give them some vengeance when they do inevitably get wrecked. You throw Gristle and Bone out on Magnus. Move up a little bit, and then it's time to start placing Valkyries. Start getting my shield guards in on places. Trying to figure out where I want them to be. Now they changed a bit from Mark III. Their armor dropped a little bit, but they did gain shield wall, so they do want to be base to base now. But they have that sweet no knockdown effect. So if they manage to make some tough checks, they can take quite a few hits. All right, the Warhog walks up, tries to position himself where he's striking an impressive figure, but not going to be immediately taken off the board. And then I just run a bunch of lights up, try to get them in the way, because Midas's feat, which is pretty cool, he just brings all his dead war beasts back. They come back with 3 health. They can't force, but they can, the range beast can stand and aim, which does pretty good. That Splatterboar can use the special effects. The Warhog can still damage himself, which might kill him after his turn, to increase his strength. So when they come back, they can still do some stuff. And back to you.
Alrighty, so I go ahead and roll for that mechanics hut up there to go ahead and start getting my lights back operational again. I believe I only rolled the 2 additional points, but it made it so that the 2 lights were active again, basically. So make sure to go ahead and get the allocation out there. It takes me 6 minutes to get my whole control phase done. Having so many warjacks is super hilarious. So from here, I start measuring some angles, because it looks like my sailors can see past that cloud. Bird's eye doesn't work on them, so I need to be able to still see stuff. We did angle it out that I am able to see, so that helps me potentially get into that unit. So we start off with the easy stuff. Mechanics get up there. They start to empower my battle group. I go ahead and make sure to get the 1 light behind the wall to get most of the focus, followed by the other light. The other heavy is just kind of going to get an acclimator to get that additional focus, so focus all around. Second unit mechanics does the same thing, get everybody up there. I do give 1 focus to the hammer heavy in the center of the board there, because I know that he's probably going to go do some work here just shortly. Calder activates. We go ahead and get my feet up, get that nice +3 defense, dodge, and riposte. Then we also make sure to upkeep Rhythm of War, obviously at the beginning of the turn, and we keep deflection up. So against shooting, I'm at a +5 defense, and to end her activation, we'll go ahead and get her infiltrated, just so we don't just willy-nilly get randomly shot. She is on a large base, so she doesn't get blocked by much. I tried to leverage that cloud a little bit in the respect of keeping her defended, but safe is safe. So we follow through. I did also on her turn cast Arcane Shield on the Hammer Heavy because it has a shield, so it's sitting at armor 23, making him pretty tanky. So I charge into that Battle Boar, right?
No, that is the Splatterboard.
Splatterboard. Yeah. So we charge up into him. He's in range. We start smacking the crap out of him. I roll pretty high, if I recall. We did make sure to go ahead and knock him down first, because I just didn't want to miss attacks, and it also was able to get a couple other guys around him knocked down. Yeah, there we go. The double sixes.
Yep.
Just removes him. And so then the heavy just gets to sit there and be annoying. So, taking a look around the board, trying to still validate exactly where I kind of want things to happen. I'm looking at the spray from this light to kind of start chipping away at this unit over here of brigands. And we measure it out, and I believe it was 4 of them that we could make shots on.
Plus the Warhug.
Yeah, and then I need 5s to hit. I believe we hit all of them except 1, maybe. And then we go ahead and start rolling through the armor after the fact. So, memory serves. Everyone had to make a tough check. 1 tough check was made, but I did not get through the hit points of the attachment. In that activation, though, I completely disregarded my focus. Instead of boosting against like the leader there, I just rolled everything, so she could have died if I remembered that I had focus. So I move my solo up, get the tactician and things so I don't have stuff in the way. Oh no, desperate pace, I needed the extra movement, I believe. So then we charge in, and we block the entire view with clouds. But this is where smites start to happen, and I now learned the gospel of smiting against buildings. So we smite the pigs into the building, knocking them down, and then Power 14 slams are hilarious. Since they get knocked down, once the damage is taken, then they're not able to tough. So from here, we focused on making sure that those guys were dead, see if they were bumping into each other, which they did. And then I was able to remove that whole unit with them still staying base to base, so they're sitting at a very nice armor 20 themselves sitting there. I reposition my heavy up a little bit, gets the accumulator, go ahead and get a shot into the Warhog, try to get some damage in on him. Wasn't too oh, and then you shield guard it into one of the Valkyries. Assessing the board some more, we're gonna try to go ahead and deal with that other unit of brigands. So I move up my other light. We go ahead and line up that shot for 3 of them, I believe. Yep, so we're taking our time, line it all up. Perfect, good to go. So I get my shots, again, needing 5s to hit. We are boosting on the other 2 just because I can boost and I remembered it this time. They each needed a tough check, and again, only one of them made a tough check. But knockdown is knockdown. Figuring out if I need to move up my next light in this turn, because I believe I can go ahead and actually just spray with him from where he's standing to go ahead and get that rat buff. So we go ahead and do that. I do boost it just because, again, I actually remember that I had focus. And then we take my shots, and I do remove the final 2 from that particular position. From here, I do start making comments about still needing to try to contest you for following turns, since you're going to be able to start scoring at the end of your turn, and I don't need you just starting to run away with the actual score. So I have to kind of make decisions. Am I going to run? Am I going to try to charge something? But I don't think that I have anything in charge ranges. So, and then this is where I'm trying to also measure to see if my Rhythm of War is going to get me into place, anything like that. And I just have to stay in the tank for a minute of just saying, you know what, I'm probably just going to need run my second unit of Tempest Sailors up to the side of this Alchemist hut to go ahead and contest it for everything. So I go ahead and give the Tempest Sailors that desperate pace from the solo down the bottom there. They go base to base after running with each other to contest up there again, being that nice armor 20. Move my heavy, get him into place. We go ahead and take a shot against the knocked down model. We hit, armor pierce, destroys them just to keep things out of the way. From here, I go ahead and make sure everything is cleared up and good to go. And make sure I didn't make a mistake and get that heavy out of Rhythm of War range. And then we go ahead and start making my Rhythm of War placements for the round. And just make sure that stuff is being as annoying as possible in place. So that you have to deal with it, because Armor 23 heavies are hilarious.
Alright, so now we're back to Midas. So the first part of my turn, I gotta figure out what I want to do. I do heal my Valkyrie with the Granary buff, get her down from 4 damage there down to only 1 damage taken. And so right now I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to deal with these heavy hammer boys behind my precious alchemy shop. And I think my most likely candidate is Invictus there. So I spend a little time proxying some stuff, seeing if I can get him in. My one remaining brigand, I know I want to throw him into that park zone to contest it. So I do Vengeance move him away using that Death March buff and get him into a spot where he'll be able to run in later in the turn. And then got our Valkyries. I'm seeing if maybe they can pull off a charge, maybe a couple gunshots possibly. And I've also got to deal with this Armor 23 heavy there. He is cute. I got a couple ways I could deal with him. You know, I've got Calamity, I've got Hex Blast, I've got a couple heavies there. But I think I want to throw my Calamity on these Hammer Boys behind the Granary, because they seem like the most problematic for me in terms of scoring and getting ahead on scenario. So I curse them with the Bone Grinder's Curse. I just pick somebody within 10 inches. Bone Grinders get +2 on attack rolls. Midas is a Bone Grinder, spells an attack. Gives him a little edge, pops his Calamity, and reduces their armor and defense by 2. Then I throw out a Battle Lust, and I charge up here with my Valkyries. And they do some good work. You know, they've got that gang benefit, brings them from mat 6 up to mat 8. And, you know, crit knockdown, when it happens, it's nice. And, you know, they rolling 4 dice on a POW 12 doesn't tickle. So they take some stuff out up there. Now, it's a little hard to see behind that cloud. I think they do not quite take out that light. And then we're looking at my brigand here.
We had to censor the massacre.
So it isn't suitable for children's eyes.
We had to censor it.
You did have your son watching this carnage, so we had to save his innocence. All right, my brigand rolls up, checking the rules, seeing if I need to touch or just be nearby to contest. I was trying to keep him out of melee range, but it just isn't possible. So if I do shoot at that light and that heavy there, they're going to have the in melee bonus when I do.
The numbers are hilarious.
Now I start looking at Invictus, and I realize that I did not leave myself the focus on Magnus to Energizer. I allocated and I upkept, and I think I miscounted and thought he had 4, because really, if I allocated 2 and upkept, I should have 2 left, but that's not how it shook out. I think I'm too used to all these lesser warlocks in Blind Order that have 4 Fury. So we move up top. I take my heavy warhog and try to slam some POW 18s into this armor 23 heavy. I do chunk it out a little bit, but it's not quite the result I wanted. I rolled low a couple times, and dice off 5, you do need boosted POW 18s to break through. But he chunks a little damage there. But my warhog seems like he's in a little bit of danger, which, spoiler, is very good for me. So I look around and I try to figure out what else I'm gonna throw into that heavy. And I think really the only thing I got left is I've got this Invictus here. And since I've already established that I fumbled a little bit, and he's not gonna get on all of those hammer boys back there, I might just commit him there instead. But to see if I can take out these hammer boys, I throw a gun bore into them. He walks up and starts boosting his initials, and he does an incredible amount of damage, way more than I thought he would. He almost one-shots this guy. He hits the second time, takes him out, and then my third initial, I've got my gunshot. I throw it on another guy. I miss, but I've got that POW 10, and I boost it,
and you just ram it.
Wreck him. 5, 6. Just give him a little pat on his back. He did good. Now it's very real that Invictus could come in and probably kill the heavy and take out this last guy. So this is looking pretty good for me. One of it. He's got his saw is a range 2. He's got his anchor. Flail, which is a range 3 anchor now. my
so
good
beautiful.
Sea King Invictus. I'm so proud of him. So he's going to move up and hopefully do some work. So we get another gun bore in there. He's sitting behind that alchemist shop, and I throw a last shot auto miss into that light.
We have to say that what the defense was at that moment.
21, I think.
26,
26,
because he was in melee.
That's
under the feet and deflection.
I just rolled the 2 dice and was like, it's gonna miss. I'm boosting the POW 10. That's it.
That's all we know we're missing. But I was like, I have to find out what the number is. It's 26.
Yeah. If I did manage to hit, I'd kill my own brigand. So I really didn't want to do that. All right, so I start throwing attacks into this heavy here, and a couple of them go well, a couple of them don't. I believe he fumbles when he tries to take out that last guy, so I got to figure out what I'm going to do with him. But I just abandoned buying attacks on your last heavy infantry, and I've got to take out this heavy, or he's just going to walk up to Midas and smash him. I do get a crit shred on the saw, and I get a free attack in there, which helps me out. But this one dude is left, and I'm not going to be able to kill him with Invictus. So in comes the Tinker. The Tinker hits, the Tinker rolls good, and the Tinker pops him in the head with his little pistol.
He did well.
He did well. He only hit because of Calamity. Otherwise, he's like a rat 4. It's not great.
Yep.
Alright, then we go back up. I've got a gun bore left. He charges up. We've got this other group of heavy infantry here. And he pops his attack. And takes him out with some melee. And then shoots his gun.
One thing I did forget here, the assailers have repulsor on their shields.
Oh, so that should push him back.
So you should have got pushed away on both ends.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that takes you out of melee of one of my guys.
Possibly.
On the bottom there. And I completely forgot about it because I was so excited about using them. And I was like, I have Slam!
And
I also have defensive
unlike
tech.
Polarity's Shield, that is not construct specific, correct?
Yeah. Correct. No, well, that's just if you hit me, you get pushed away. So,
good to know about.
I need to remember that because it's super good.
Mm-hmm.
We did miss that light there on that shot, so I did get my dodge.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I took a shot at him. He dodged away. feat benefit. And
so good.
Then I go with Magnus, my poor miscounted Magnus. And I realize that I've maybe got Midas a little too exposed, so I just run him up and try to body block a sight line for him.
Yep. So, beginning of my turn, we start going through the evaluation of everything. At this moment, I go, all right, I'm going to use Old Faithful because one of my things isn't working, and you're contesting my little repair hut over there with that Tinkerer. I don't have Old Faithful. So, I don't know why I don't have Old Faithful in a very battle group heavy army, but guess what? I don't. I'm good at this game.
You've got that repair shop at least.
Well, not for now. The Tinkerer's in the way.
That's true.
So I go ahead and I get my focus back on Calder. We go ahead and try to do some think tanking and looking at stuff. I'm definitely eyeing Magnus quite a bit because the fun rule about Magnus with Invictus is that if you drop Magnus off the board, Invictus just disappears. He does not stay on the board. He doesn't go inert. He doesn't do any of those things. Because of the bond between them, he just disappears.
Just like Russian Grind, just like Wrong Eye, yes. He dies, his friend goes with him.
Yep, so I'm definitely looking at Magnus. I think that if I'm able to get Invictus off the board, I'm not anywhere near as bullied on this edge of the board as I am with him on it. So we definitely keep an eye on that throughout the entire turn. So, staying in the tank, we go ahead and make sure to upkeep Rhythm of War. I go ahead and make sure to get my focus allocated where I'm allowed to have it allocated. My light at the top in front of the heavy there does not have a Cortex right now, so we are definitely going to have to get a mechanic in the position there to make it happen. The really nice thing about the mechanics for this particular matchup for us is that I have a ton of repair ability if my stuff just doesn't die. So that was definitely a very big threat for this particular matchup, especially if I could have on top of having the repair hut, but you contesting it kind of slowed me down there. So I am deep in the tank of, can I get enough shots into Magnus? Like right now, I have 3 potential sprays that could get over to him that you can't shield guard. With the added bonus that, if depending on my angles, would also get Midas. So we definitely go through the thing. Then I go ahead and look at this because I'm dealing with shield guards here. I could just use my heavy and slam Invictus. Slamming would still do half distance because you're bigger than me, but getting that damage onto the Valkyries as well, potentially, to even just maybe kill them by slamming Invictus and knocking him down and getting him out of the way, could be a pretty good benefit for me with that. Also, if I decide that I need to just go into Invictus, he's knocked down, I'm not worried about missing. So I am in the tank here. This is also probably where we're sitting here wondering about collateral damage.
This is when we call Dan over and we're trying to figure out slam rules because neither of us ever use them.
Correct. And I have all this slamming stuff now. So I move the cloud out of the way to kind of check for lines of sight, or not lines of sight, distances and things like that, because that's a big cloud.
And you see through it,
but
Calder.
I do see through it because bird's eye is a really good rule when it's applicable. So easies first is always easy. Mechanics go. I go ahead and start to make sure to get that Empower out there for everybody, throwing that up on my jacks to have them prepped. And then they're just going to stay in the park to make sure that I keep this zone. So we get some of the random decor out of the way, and I start placing everybody. I almost make a mistake here with the one mechanic because I wanted him to repair, but I didn't place him there at first. I was like, wait, I gotta repair. So I go ahead and repair, which gives him his Cortex back, and then my other 2 mechanics are able to go ahead and give him focus for the turn. Again, very powerful unit. I love them. They're great. Everybody else hates them.
They're just very good and also very durable.
Yes, and they fight.
they got hammers.
They have hammers. So my solo goes over there and gets me Tactician up because I'm pretty blobbed up at the moment over here. So I go ahead and move my one light, who I don't believe was in range of being able to get to Magnus anyway. So I moved him over here to try to start going against some of the Valkyries and stuff that are behind the cloud right there up against the wall. I don't think I really do too much into them anyway. Then we charge in with my solo to kill the last brigand to get prey off the board, and also something I can still get a point for the turn. And then we go ahead and we start looking at Magnus with a couple sprays, hoping to boost. Magnus himself is still a very chunky boy as far as armor is concerned. He's what, armor 19 with the spells up?
With Gristle and Bone, he's 19. Yep.
Yeah.
With 10 health too. It's quite a bit for a lesser.
Yeah, especially for a lesser. Like, I would expect like maybe 8 or something like that, but no. So we go ahead and follow through using my command card for Careful Reconnaissance to go ahead and execute the slam onto Invictus. I believe I roll a 4, which means he gets to get slammed 2 inches. So he gets back up and he displaces the Valkyries.
Yep. They are unfortunately still base to base and don't get knocked down. But you
so they don't get knocked down, but we do get to roll some damage. I do not believe the damage was really all that much at this point, because I don't think I rolled as well on the Valkyries themselves. I know I didn't damage Invictus at all because I rolled. He's armor 22, and it's only a power 12 against him because I'm smaller than him. So, still inquiring about rules, making sure on how, if do I get the additional die, do I not get the additional die, things like that. So then we just start pointing at models and start making rolls. Again, I'm not rolling well here, so I think I got like 1 or 2 damage on one of them, but they're out of the way a little bit, so it did get them kind of placed in a way that if I wanted to have other shots, then I could do that. Now, one thing I did miss here is that I bought some attacks into Invictus. I did not take my armor-piercing shot into Magnus as I intended. So I did miss out on that initial, because if that armor-piercing shot could have been boosted into Magnus, power 8 armor-piercing is still pretty good against, what, he'd have been armor 9?
Yeah.
Something like that? Or
down to 9, up to 11 from the buff.
Yeah, so it dice off 3? Yes, please. So go ahead and start getting those sprays in. But again, the dice are just not there for me in this particular moment of trying to get into Magnus. I then start looking at my arc node because I remembered I had it, and that I just need to get it within 6 inches of my heavy, and then I can start buying jackhammer attacks when it's Calder's turn. So we get that into place. We go ahead and boost a shot of the spray into Magnus. Dice off 7, it's not great. I think I got like 2 or 3 damage into him that turn. And then we go ahead and continue forward with my other heavy. I go ahead and charge him forward into the Warhog, because I can also buy jackhammer attacks into this heavy because he's standing right there. So I get my charge into the Warhog. I do a little bit of damage, but not a lot, because it was like dice plus 1 or something. Because you're an 18? Yeah, so it's dice plus 1, but I kind of rolled low-ish. So I was out of focus. So Calder moved up. We're going to go ahead and start throwing out the jackhammer. I did roll Electroleap because I forgot about it in the moment onto that other Valkyrie, or the Valkyrie back there. And I rolled really high on the Electroleap damage. So then we go ahead and start buying stuff. I do buy a couple tacks into Invictus, and then I get to a point where I'm like, I'm going to stop doing that because he is very tanky. And then I had a couple Electroleaps go through. I rolled really decent on Electroleap again. Got some damage into the Valkyrie behind the wall there, but didn't kill her. And then again, this is where I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna get the Warhog off the table. So we go ahead and start rolling. It's only dice off 1, so it's not terrible in the sense of how much damage I can do. And I believe I do end up getting him off the table. Yeah, right there on that last one. So then we go ahead and roll the 3 electro leaps into the other model, which was the gun bore. And again, I roll pretty well on the electro leap damage, being only power 10 into these guys. So I'm really happy about it. I don't know about you.
I'm pretty happy you killed my warhog at this point, and we'll see why later.
Yes. So from here, I go ahead and make sure to keep everything off, and then I believe I get ready to go into... Oh, I power swell and then move Arcane Shield over to that heavy. And then I begin... So I do my repo on Calder, making sure she's still within 14 of that other heavy. And then we go ahead and start triggering into my Rhythm of War. Now, this is where I notice that I am not within Rhythm of War distance to contest the granary at the top there, top right. I am in distance to go ahead and contest the right zone there of the Alchemist Ben, but that's going to get me out of my control range. However, I'm assuming he's dead because of Invictus, but I get to contest on your turn.
Alright, and we're back to Midas. I made a mistake the previous turn. That tent back there, I did not have a unit within an inch of it, so I did give up a free point. So right now I'm trying to figure out how I can clear these zones and maybe contest yours, and try to go up on scenario, and recover from a couple of mistakes I made. I'm pretty sure that I can clear these 2 zones, but I'm kind of scrambling to figure out if there's any way that I can contest that top left and bottom left zone that you have. You killed my Tinker up top, and nothing else is remotely close enough. Ooh, this is the ring that Jamie gave me. In the
I hate that ring. I hate it.
We have a community member named Jamie who plays a bit of Cephalix, and I guess when we were playing the other day, he got the idea to make a nice 9.1 inch ring to measure my Thresher attack. He gave it to me during my game, so thank you very much, Jamie.
It's so disgusting. I hate
it's
it.
Beautiful. Even matches the color.
It is beautiful, but I hate it.
So I take a look at Calder. It's so
I sweat.
It's always fun to ask your opponent, what's your caster stat line?
But the answer is generally not enough.
It's usually not enough, but her distance is enough. I don't have a lot I can get on her, except for maybe Invictus and Magnus rockets, but I don't think that boosted Powiats are gonna do it. So I'm looking at these heavies. As usual, I've got blinders for heavies. How can I take out these heavies? It's the only thing I live for. It's the reason I play. So I'm thinking about pulling one of my favorite tricks with Midas. So feet brings back dead beasts. I've got a dead warhog. I've got a couple dead lights. I'm planning on taking this heavy's got arcane shield. He's sitting at armor 23. But if I play it right, and if I hit, I can Calamity. I can follow it up with a Hex Blast, and he goes from that armor 23 down to 18. And then I can feet back a heavy and start beating. So
this one was 21.
Yeah. He doesn't have the shield.
This one doesn't have the shield.
So the first thing I do is I move these Valkyries up, and I'm like, all right, this will be a lot easier to pull off if I can get a crit knockdown with their hammers. They're not going to do damage, but if I can knock him down, I can definitely hit that Calamity. It doesn't pan out for them. They hit him. I think I do like 1 or 2 damage on a lucky roll, and they pop a couple shots into the light, but nothing of substance happens. So I've just gotta go in with Midas. So I drop that curse. I boost the Calamity. I hit. I throw the Hex Blast. I hit with the Hex Blast. We get rid of Arcane Shield. I power swell, so I've got 1 left, and maybe have a transfer if something gets on me. And then I decide to feat. I bring back my beasts completely within 6 inches of him. Now they can't force, but they can use abilities. They can stand and aim. They can do all that. So I've got my heavy. I've got my gun bore. I've got my splatter bore. And
losing Arcane Shield, do not recommend.
And then I back up towards that tent to try and get that free point that I gave him before. So my boar goes in. I do roll his ability to take a d3 of damage and increase his strength by 2, or melee damage. Now the damage doesn't happen till the end of the turn, so he's still good for these attacks. So I've got these three initials. I've got the tusks and 2 cleavers. So I've got a 19 and 2 20s. With the Calamity, I'm rolling at some plus damage on this armor 17, I believe.
After Calamity, 16.
16. Yep. So we're dice plus 1, dice plus 2, depending on the attack, and we take a few swings into him and get some good damage on that heavy. After that, I've got my gun boar hanging out here, or I've got Magnus. Magnus charges in.
Yeah.
A little shout out to you, Adventure Zone fans. Magnus charges in. He takes his boosted armor-piercing faux cleaver, and he stabs that heavy for the last 3 damage.
We don't want to talk about it. It's not good. It hurt.
I think about repoing him back, or energizing him back rather, but I decide just to save the 2 extra focus, and I've got him camping 3, and we'll see if that's enough. Now I've got my splatter boar here. Again, he's brought back. He can't boost, but I'm hoping if I can drop his incendiary round on those mechanics, I can set them all on fire, and maybe the flame rolls will do some work for me. So I try to see first if I can get him close enough to the zone, which I can't. Then I try to find a spot where he's not engaging this jack. And also figure out if I can get a sweet thresher there with Invictus. I don't want to block my landing zone with that splatter boar. But I end up just going for it. He can see through the cloud because he has the gas mask benefit. He does hit. He throws his fire in all 3 mechanics. Doesn't take anything out, but we'll see what happens at the beginning of the next turn. So I go back to measuring this Invictus thresher. It's not quite enough. You know, he's got 3 on his anchor there. So we end up just deciding to go again with the old 3-2, the 2 inches on his shredder there, and the 3 inches on his flail. Before we do that, my Valkyries charge up. I had the nice vengeance at the beginning of the turn to really set up that charge lane. And they toss some hammers at this heavy and start chunking it down.
You're hoping for that knockdown again.
Hoping for that knockdown again. It doesn't happen. You know, the knockdown would free up Invictus to really position wherever he wants, because he wouldn't have to use the breakthrough card or anything like that. Also, if he gets knocked down, then I can possibly charge, but it doesn't work out. So he just walks up, and we start taking initials. So we hit. I think he does get that crit knockdown, and we start rolling damage. Or no, that was a crit shred. That was his
crit shred.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, ooh, another attack.
A couple do damage, a couple don't. We start buying attacks, taking more into him. And we set him on fire with my flamethrower. We try to throw my initial obliterator into him. It doesn't do much. We buy another attack and take him out. I measure to see if my gun boar can get to that zone and contest. The answer is sadly no. So now we're seeing what else he can do. My gobber can't reach there either, but maybe I can reposition him to do it next turn. So that gun board goes up. He tries to see who he can get. Range 12 ends up at 14 with the alchemist shot, and we punt some damage into this light here. Try to reduce his effectiveness a little bit because he kind of has a straight shot to Magnus there. So
he's also the arc node.
He's also the arc node. We got some issues.
So you took out the arc node with that shot.
My other gun board comes up, starts doing some work. Ends up taking out another light, doing Doing a lot of work for those 8 points. Gunbores, getting dual attack did a lot for them.
They do really well.
I bring my Gobber up to a place where he can maybe contest next turn, and we're back to Signar.
Yep. So I go ahead and finish clearing off my lights since they're dead. Now, this is a turn where we roll for fire. 1 goes out, 2 stay, and then when we actually do the damage out, I lost a mechanic. It's been very rare that I lose these mechanics, but it happens. So I go ahead and get back up to my 7 focus on Calder. We go ahead and just try to measure some stuff out and just look. Midas is just not in a position where I'm like, I can go get him. I do let Watcher drop for this turn. I'm kind of looking at a possible jackhammer with certain things. I do believe for myself that I kind of went out of activation a little bit in my sequence this round. I think there's definitely better plays that I could have made to maximize my efficiency on this turn, but it was still a pretty decent turn of handling things. So I start off with moving my mechanics over, and they go ahead and empower that light. I need it to have as much focus as it can. I do have a line of sight on Magnus, and if I can get this light to potentially drop Magnus, I feel as though I can do a little bit more work for another turn, hopefully. So we get that in position there. I go ahead and take some looks for how I'm going to kind of position these things. I did already kind of declare to myself and to you, Pete, that my second set of mechanics is going to start charging something because I'm going to do it.
They got hammers.
They got hammers, and they're going to do it. So they charge in. Hilariously enough, they are Mat 6, Power 12 as a mechanics unit. So again, I charge on in. We go ahead. I do get the hit. I go ahead and I get to roll my damage. I do make 1 take a tough check, and he kills 1. And then I go ahead and this mechanic, his intent was attack the warhog and try to kill it. It had 1 health left, and I missed with the 5. I needed a 6. So from here, I'm definitely a little bit more in panicky mode because I'm like, crap, that didn't work. I'm running out, I'm not going to be able to do certain things. So I move my solo around. He does tactician because I feel like I'm starting to get gummed up a little bit. And I still need to be able to move. So I go ahead, measure my ranges. I know I got to try to see if I can get this Tinkerer out, because if he is able to kind of move into contest next turn, it's going to cause a problem. Definitely are looking at that. But from here, I just decided to charge Calder in, because I can see you through that cloud because of bird's eye.
And you need that Warhog gone to have that charge on Magnus.
I need him gone so that I can get the charge on Magnus. She's able to do so, and then I go ahead and start to buy attacks with Jackhammer. Because I'm right there next to my light. I can go ahead and see it, and I can do it. Oh, she does take a shot into, I believe it was another gun bore behind Invictus there. There was a model there. She shot it. She killed it. We started doing jackhammers. Now, this is where I should have done it differently. That light that I'm using jackhammers on now could have gone first and used its spray, since it has pistol, and shot through the Warhog and boosted on it. That would have fixed that problem. So she then repos. She sits on 4 because I'm processing myself to follow through for another turn. I don't need something just randomly jumping into her and killing her, so she needs the focus. So my light goes ahead and starts making its spray attack as its initial. I go ahead and I shoot through them. It does get to my mechanic, but because he's resistant, I can only do 1 point of damage to him on a 6. So we roll out the whole thing. I think I ended up actually missing my own mechanic somehow. It's because he's engaged, and I wasn't engaging him. So that worked out well. So then I start making my initial melee attacks, and I just don't do anything to those Valkyries. So from here, Invictus was not engaging the 3 inches to my light, so I go ahead and I charge Magnus. I do end up boosting my armor punchy spike.
And it
and
crits.
I
Oof.
crit.
Ugh.
So I go ahead and I, on the charge, have boosted damage, and I think it came out to like 24 damage or something like that.
You one-shot him, even with the reduction from a focus point. You punch right through him.
So that was able to, as you can see, just removes Invictus from the board, and I feel a little bit better in this turn here. However, because I did not upkeep Rhythm of War at the beginning of the turn with a little bit of foresight, I can't move anything to contest the top right house. Because I would be able to move myself through the house into the to stop you from scoring. So I get a couple more measuring out there. I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? Because at this point, we do kind of see that if I'm unable to kind of stop some contesting in certain places, that I'm actually just going to lose on my own turn. Willy-nilly, because you could just end your turn and score. So from here, I'm kind of forced into, I need to run my solo to the Alchemist Hut to contest that zone. You do have Counterblast up, and because I get engaged when I go to do that, you do miss the attack on me and are not able to kill me with the blast damage.
Yeah, I get a couple
and then we
points,
pass it back to you.
But it wasn't enough to keep it from scoring. At this point, I believe I am up by 2 points. So I've got to contest your 2 zones and score my 3, and I should have the victory in the bag. So we gotta take out this solo. My gunbore goes up and starts to punch at him. Chips away, does a few damage, manages to get him with that last initial. My Valkyries come up here, do a little shuffle, place their friend, and that's the game. All right, good game, man. That was one of the better games I've had in a while.
It was a fantastic game. I'm tired of losing to you.
I really enjoyed this scenario. This was kind of a simplified version of the Hammer Strike scenario that's on the app if you're subscribed at the moment. I think there's a lot of potential for these asymmetric attacker-defender type scenarios that aren't just limited to here's a building, it's got this much HP, kill it. Because those get a little lopsided if you have ranged armor-piercing attacks and stuff. But
what me? No.
But these elements, they felt dynamic, they felt impactful. Like your spell ward was relevant right from the first turn. That extra
absolutely.
range was great. The heal and the repair were always relevant for bringing beasts and jacks back from being non-functional.
Absolutely. It became functional to the game in the sense of like it's not just a control point anymore. It's you're saying that my warjacks are going to be always useful if they're not dead. That can't happen.
It was almost like an amped up version of what before we replaced them with command card functionality. What objectives used to be. Used to pick that benefit, and this was like a little scattering of a couple of those types of effects. I do think if we had a steamroller packet of a lot of these asymmetric scenarios, maybe changing up when side is decided might be a good addition to it.
Okay.
Like if you decide side and then get to pick your match, so you could have like a defender list and attacker list could be kind of spicy.
Ooh, that's a fun dynamic. I like that.
I don't really see it happening, but I do think these attacker defender scenarios have more potential than we've given them, because steamroller scenarios have traditionally been, identical on either side, and you're kind of relying on terrain placement to really make that, do I go first, do I pick side, to be important. But yeah, some of that could be baked into the scenario. How did you feel about Calder? I know she's kind of a new caster for you.
I will remove all of my naysaying that I've had about her outside of the double self-upkeep. actually having her on the board legitimately is definitely changed my perspective of her a little bit. I am in the field of she's probably where like most things should be. Like she's fair versus what Wolf and Athena do. So because those two are just obnoxious as far as their power scale is concerned. But Calder's kind of in line with that. But like if she had something a little different and outside of Watcher, because like Watcher is kind of like a niche thing, just because like generally you probably want Rhythm of War up the entire game. As you could see at the end of the last round there, like if I had Rhythm of War there, I could have stopped another control point, because I think if I could have fished out another turn, I could have turned the game around at that end. But I definitely give her way more credit now actually putting her on the board than I did with all of my naysaying on her. So for that, Madison, I'm sorry.
We were talking about this little post game that Calder seems to have a lot of potential. Maybe not in like a solo pairing compared to the other two, but in a team event. Bird's Eye is so powerful.
Absolutely, especially if you can choose the board.
Right? If you slap her on a table that's like all forests and clouds, she will have.
She's in control at that point.
Like a pretty unfair advantage.
Right.
Which is awesome.
Where she wants to be.
That's her niche. Like that's really, I think, where she excels is these team events. Like Boker Brawl and like Sussy Scuff. Which, speaking of which, Sussy Scuff is coming up.
Yes.
It's on the 7th. I think as of this recording, there's
only 9 tickets left.
Single-digit spots left. There were 9 earlier today.
There's only 9 left.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you're free on October 7th, we've got a short list of people who are coming solo as mercs to make some ad hoc teams. Day of, don't feel like you need some extra people to drag along with you. We can help you out with that. We're down at the Battle Bunker in Philly, and if you want to join us, it's a good time.
Our team's gonna win, Pete. Just saying.
Yeah.
Listen,
we did team up this time.
Yes, remember, if you can't beat them, join them.
And speaking of events too, we just came back from Nova, and we
so much fun.
We've got our Prince of Pence here, Sir Richard.
That's me. I did it. I made
it. We did wrap up King of Coin, which we do plan on doing again next year. It was a lot of fun. We sent those coins out to various metas. Over the months, people fought to claim their spot.
Congrats, Mr. King.
And yeah, Stephen King is the King of Coin this year. But we had a lot of great events. We had the narrative. We had the casual steamroller, Prince of Pence, King of Coin.
A lot of fun.
I had some RPG sessions going. We ran some Spelljammer. We were going to have some Iron Kingdoms. Unfortunately, that fell through a little bit. But there's a lot of good stuff at Nova.
Next year,
if you can,
when all of you show up,
if you guys have the time, it's down in DC. It was a great location. DC's got incredible food and
such good food.
It's a fun time.
Those pig feet were amazing.
If you're around, hit us up. We'd love to have you. And once again, thanks for watching. It's always a pleasure for us, and we hope it was for you too.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.
Later.
Thank you for watching. If you would like to check out some additional content, including the original video and audio of our battle reports to support the channel, please click our Patreon link in the video description below. If there are any factions, warcasters, or warlocks you would like to see on the channel, please let us know in the comments. And as always, see you on the next Tried and True Battle Report.